Empty hallways feel completely terrifying when you realize something might be watching. Alice here, and today we explore 20 games delivering that exact same feeling. Taking the 19th spot is Fears to Fathom Ironbark Lookout, an episodic psychological thriller focusing on narrative tension. You play as a fire lookout stationed deep within isolated woods, trying to survive the night. The grainy retro visuals make every shadow look like a looming threat outside your small cabin window. I always appreciate games that use isolation to build dread effectively without overwhelming the player immediately. Surviving your shift becomes a deeply personal and very intense solitary survival ordeal. Sitting at number 18 is Alien Isolation, delivering what might be the most stressful stalker experience ever created. You explore a massive retro-futuristic space station while being relentlessly hunted by an incredibly intelligent creature. The entity learns your hiding patterns and reacts to every small sound you make. My favorite aspect is how completely helpless you feel when the monster drops from the ceiling vents. It captures that terrifying cat and mouse dynamic with absolute mechanical and visual brilliance. Number 17 introduces Murder House, a brilliant homage to classic survival horror games from the original PlayStation era. The low polygon graphics somehow make the stalking serial killer even more terrifying as you slowly explore an abandoned home. The fixed camera angles constantly obscure your vision just enough to keep you heavily paranoid. I found the deliberate pacing completely gripping from the very start. Managing limited save items while avoiding a brutal enemy creates tremendous tension throughout the entire run. Coming in at 16 is Blair Witch, throwing players directly into an endlessly confusing and deeply haunted forest. You rely heavily on a camcorder to uncover hidden clues and manipulate the dark environment around you. The way the woods shift and change when you are not looking feels remarkably similar to endless liminal spaces. Having your loyal dog companion beside you offers some genuine comfort. Getting lost among the repetitive trees creates an incredible sense of hopeless dread and confusion. For number 15, we have MADiSON, an incredibly dark, psychological game built entirely around possessing an instant camera. Taking photos reveals hidden supernatural entities and alters the physical layout of the terrifying house you explore. The sheer unpredictability of what might appear in a developed photograph keeps you constantly on edge. I loved piecing together the twisted family history hidden behind locked doors. The rich atmospheric sound design makes every single floorboard creak sound like absolute impending doom, approaching quickly. Reaching number 14 is the Mortuary Assistant, a remarkably unique job simulator blended heavily with intense demonic horror. You perform realistic embalming tasks on various bodies while experiencing random supernatural events that escalate quickly over time. Every single shift offers completely different scares based on the demonic presence currently hunting you. I find the balance between performing mundane medical tasks and surviving active paranormal threats genuinely brilliant. It demands absolute concentration while actively trying to ruin your focus with terror. Taking the 13th spot is Iron Lung, an incredibly minimalist horror game set inside a tiny submarine exploring an ocean of blood. You navigate entirely using primitive instruments and a grainy external camera that takes several seconds to process images. The mounting claustrophobia creates a suffocating atmosphere that feels deeply horrible. I genuinely admire how much pure anxiety this game generates using almost zero complex mechanics. Hearing strange metallic thuds echoing outside the thin metal hull remains a truly terrifying experience. At number 12 is Stay Out of the House, dropping you into a terrifying low-resolution nightmare where a sadistic butcher actively hunts you. It perfectly blends old-school visual aesthetics with surprisingly deep stealth survival mechanics. Escaping the filthy house requires careful observation and managing a limited inventory while dodging traps. I really appreciate how incredibly smart the artificial intelligence feels during long chases. Every single creaking floorboard makes you desperately want to hide under the nearest available bed. Stepping into number 11 is Lost in Vivo, an incredibly oppressive psychological journey about descending into ruined underground tunnels to rescue your dog. The environmental design actively plays tricks on your mind, constantly shifting corridors and trapping you in impossible architecture, similar to backrooms logic. The sound design alone causes severe paranoia throughout the entire campaign. My absolute favorite part is how it completely forces you to confront intense claustrophobia while solving strange puzzles in the dark depths below ground. Number 10 delivers Anemoiapolis Chapter 1, a brilliantly surreal exploration game focused entirely on the terrifying aesthetic of endless liminal spaces. You wander through empty swimming pools and bizarre vacant shopping malls that feel heavily disconnected from normal reality. It captures that specific eerie feeling of being somewhere familiar but completely abandoned. I truly love the bizarre lighting choices that make everything look both calming and incredibly sinister simultaneously. It perfectly translates the uncanny dread of internet backrooms horror stories. Arriving at number 9 is Slender The Arrival, the definitive version of the internet classic that essentially defined modern entity evasion. Armed only with a weak flashlight, you must collect scattered pages while being constantly pursued by a faceless supernatural being. The static interference that distorts your screen whenever danger approaches never stops being incredibly stressful. Experiencing the pure panic of realizing the entity is standing silently right behind you remains a phenomenal and highly effective pure horror gaming milestone. Occupying number 8 is Visage, arguably one of the most frightening, photorealistic psychological thrillers ever produced. Exploring the massive, shifting house reveals gruesome past tragedies, while supernatural entities actively hunt you through dark corridors. Managing your sanity meter by staying in the light adds a fantastic layer of constant mechanical tension. I was blown away by how seamlessly the environment morphs behind your back into surreal, impossible spaces. It creates a relentless feeling of heavy doom and pure, endless despair. Number 7 brings us Monstrum, dropping you onto a randomly generated abandoned cargo ship with one of 3 unique terrifying monsters. The procedural layout means you can never memorize the optimal escape route, making every single run incredibly fresh and stressful. You must scavenge specific parts to repair various escape vehicles while constantly hiding. I love how heavily the game relies on dynamic audio cues to warn you of approaching danger. It perfectly captures the ultimate survival horror evasion mechanics. At number 5, we find Amnesia The Bunker, a brilliant evolution of the legendary survival franchise. Trapped in a collapsing underground bunker during World War I, you are stalked by an incredibly smart beast that reacts dynamically to your actions. The semi-open world design allows for highly creative problem-solving under extreme pressure. I especially appreciate how firing your loud revolver is always a massive gamble that draws immediate attention. Keeping the central generator running feels truly constantly terrifying. Taking number 4 is SCP Containment Breach, the iconic procedural survival game where strange anomalous entities escape a massive underground laboratory. Every time you play, the entire facility layout changes completely, forcing you to adapt rapidly to incredibly dangerous supernatural creatures. The blinking mechanic is utterly genius, forcing you to maintain eye contact with a deadly concrete statue. I love the sheer variety of weird monsters roaming the cold concrete hallways. It remains a truly legendary procedural horror gaming classic. For number 3, we have The Complex Found Footage, which delivers perhaps the most authentic backrooms exploration experience currently available. Dropping you into seemingly infinite yellow wallpapered office rooms, it nails the unsettling VHS aesthetic flawlessly with heavy visual distortion. Navigating the quiet, buzzing hallways induces a deep trance before the sudden entity encounters shatter your nerves. I constantly felt a profound sense of isolation and dreadful anticipation. It captures the modern internet folklore vibe with absolutely stunning visual precision. Down to number 2 is The Exit 8, a brilliant short game entirely focused on observing extremely subtle environmental anomalies. You are trapped in an endless repeating subway corridor where missing a single strange detail forces you to start completely over. The gameplay loop is deceptively simple, but incredibly engaging as paranoia quickly takes hold of you. I found myself staring suspiciously at every single poster and tile. It creates a fantastically unique brand of pure psychological observation horror gaming. And sitting comfortably at number 1 is Pools, a masterpiece of tension that features absolutely no monsters or traditional jump scares whatsoever. You simply navigate massive, hyper-realistic indoor swimming pool complexes that feel endlessly lonely and inherently wrong. The phenomenal sound design amplifies your own echoing footsteps to create relentless, crushing anxiety. I have never played something that captures the exact feeling of an anxious childhood nightmare so perfectly. It completely redefines what modern atmospheric liminal horror means today.